Broadcasting live from the free state of Florida, it's the Dr. Tommy Show.
It's the show the establishment warned
That's
you
right.
about.
It's the Dr. Tommy Show. Glad you're back. We are live broadcasting from the free state of Florida. As the archivist was so helpful to introduce us, I'm your host, Dr. Tommy McRoy. I'm in the free state of Florida from Echelon Health Studios, and I have a special guest with me today, and his name is Leo. Hey, Leo. How you doing?
How's it going, Doc?
Going well. Leo is a financial advisor here in Tampa, and he was kind enough to spare some of his valuable time to come talk with us today, and we are so glad to have him. Leo, tell us about your just tell us about shortly what you do.
So I'm a financial advisor in the Tampa Bay area, generally working with people getting pretty close to retirement, or they've already retired and they want to be able to kind of stay retired. That's the niche that I work in.
Move your mic a little bit closer to your face. So you work with people who are retired. You said who are
Getting close.
and they want to stay retired.
And they want to stay retired.
So what about how'd you get involved with all that?
So right out of college, I graduated from the University of South Florida. So my first couple of years were spent actually at a college in Nebraska pursuing a football scholarship. And then when football kind of came to an end for me, I graduated from USF. I came back home. And so the job offers when I graduated college weren't ideal.
So tell me about that though, because you started off, obviously, you went that way for a reason.
Yep.
Were you misdirected or?
No, I always, as far as why I chose the field.
Yeah, no. When you said the job offers weren't great, when you were into that, you suppose the job offers were going to be good, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. I thought I was going to get a job as an analyst analyzing mutual funds for some big company.
Yeah.
And it was not great.
And what happened?
Well, this was 2007,
Uh-huh.
right? And so I graduated in June 2007, started looking for jobs, right? And the best paying job that I could find in the financial field was actually at a call center handling like one of these big brokerage houses, handling like incoming client calls.
Damn.
And so I knew I was going to be miserable. So I had a buddy actually that had gotten a job as a financial advisor in one of these big firms, and he's the one that kind of reached out to me. Now I didn't know that he was getting, he'd get a little spiff for recruiting somebody.
Yeah.
But it ended up being a blessing.
Do they do that with doctors too?
Do they really?
Yeah. If you work for a big company.
Ah.
Yeah. When I used to work for urgent care, yeah, they had a parent company. It was a giant company, global, whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, they'd throw you like a couple grand.
Look, so
if you told someone, hey, go join such and such, and they signed up, they'd give you a couple grand.
Yeah.
And then they'd give you, you sign up a nurse, they'll give you, whatever. It's kind of interesting.
There's a lot of kickbacks.
There's a lot of money involved in hiring somebody like that. It's probably the same with your business.
Yeah.
In the firms.
Yep.
So you were with a firm. You got out and you were with a firm. You got this. So
yeah. So I ended up going with one of these large firms, and I was there for about 3 years or so before I went independent. Kind of like you decided to go independent after a little while, start your own practice.
Did you, when you went into that, when did you decide like, I want to do my own? Or was that always your goal, or were you just like kind of just going with it?
No, when you work for one of the big companies, you're only allowed to use approved stuff that the company tells you it's okay to use.
Right.
I don't know. I'm sure there's something similar in the medical field.
Well, in the medical field, it's not that, cut and dry, but you do use what's only approved because that's all you know.
Mm.
It's kind of interesting. So you go to medical school and you learn about medicine, right? And then your third year, you start learning about medications. And medications drive the industry. And so if you go to medical school, you're raised in that environment. And so here's the thing about medicine, modern medicine, every ill, a pill for every ill.
Yeah.
That's the way American healthcare is. maybe other healthcares too. I don't know. But American healthcare, insurance-driven healthcare, is a pill for every ill. So yes, you do have certain products you're supposed to get. So like, for instance, if someone comes to you and you're a doctor, let's say you just got out and you went to residency and you joined some multi-hospital group local that has like, surgery centers and hospitals and physicians groups. And then you start treating patients and they roll in and they're like, yeah, here I am. And you do their blood work and it's like, oh, okay, your cholesterol, it says it's 211. And here, this little lab form says it's high.
Mm.
And so guess what you're going to do? You're going to put them on whatever that statin was that you remember that person bringing the free lunch.
Yeah.
And then and that's it. So you're not forced to, but you're inculcated with that from birth as a healthcare person.
Curious as to, I'm sure they spend a lot of time talking about medicines and all that stuff in medical school. How much time do they spend talking about or instructing you guys, teaching you guys on like, calorie restriction and exercise?
In residency in medical school, virtually none. I mean, maybe I'm biased because I don't remember that much, and I think it's stupid now that I'm out, and I think back and say, well, it's really stupid. Maybe they taught us a little bit, but it certainly wasn't the foundation.
Wow.
But fellowship is different. Fellowship, yes. Fellowship, I actually learned a lot of things in my 1-year sports medicine fellowship that were never covered in residency or medical school for sure. So, for instance, vitamin D. Vitamin D in medical school, you learn vitamin D, if you don't have enough, causes rickets. End of story. One slide on biochemistry, maybe a slide later on pathology. It shows some picture of someone with like a blackout over their eyes, and they look like they've been riding horses their whole life because they have rickets.
Yeah.
But in reality, like our patients, we have, 50% or more of our patients have low vitamin D. Now, it's interesting too, because if you look at the establishment myths and medicine, they say, well, the vitamin D ranges are too strict and they're catching too many people with deficiency, and they really don't have deficiency. So I think it used to be 20 to 100 was considered normal. Now I think they bumped it up to 30 to 100. But anyway, in our practice, if you're rolling around with a 30 and you come in and you have fatigue, or you come in and you have muscle pains or joint aches, or if you're getting sick a lot and you can't get better, it's probably your vitamin D. At least that's a major reason for it.
Mm.
But that's like, you don't get taught about that. You don't get taught about nutrition. It's just, like I said, it's geared more towards medicines. But I remember there was a time in medical school, one of the library was like sponsored by a drug company.
Really?
Yeah.
There was I've had probably, 4 primary care physicians before I found you, Doc. And I remember I left one specifically because I can't remember if it was my cholesterol was approaching 200 or something along those lines. So she was asking me about my diet.
Uh-huh.
And I said, yeah, I generally tend to kind of stay moderate carbohydrates, a little bit medium to higher in fats, and a good chunk of protein. And
she's like, what?
She was like, no.
Yeah,
you have to keep your fats very, very
saturated
fat.
Yeah, saturated fat's bad.
And I asked you when I asked her, I was like, well, what do you eat in a day? And she goes, well, I try to eat only 7 grams of fat a day.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, everything that I'm reading now is showing the benefits of having good fats in your diet. And I'm not gonna, it wasn't my place to educate a doctor,
right?
But that was my last time ever.
But could you imagine though, if you weren't curious type of person, self-educated in a sense, and about health? You just, well, all right, whatever,
I better cut my fats. 7 a day, 7 grams of fat a day.
Yeah, there's a lot of call it misinformation about cholesterol. I had a podcast. This has been 10 years now, probably, maybe 9, with the attending physician when I was at USF in residency. He was the guy that ran the neurosurgery. Or no, sorry, neurosurgery, critical care neurology. Anyway, he's a stroke specialist. Anyway, I talked to him later. I graduated in 2006, and it was probably 10 years later that he came on my podcast. And you can still see it on YouTube and wherever else. But anyway, he was talking about the cholesterol myth, and this was 10 years ago. And at that time, it was kind of a new thing. But now I think more people are mainstream about cholesterol. And, is cholesterol really bad for you? And at what level? And what kind of cholesterol? Because even now, the the axiom is that cholesterol equals vascular disease, high cholesterol equals vascular disease, cholesterol bad, lower cholesterol as much as possible. But Dr. Hoffman, who was the guy I was talking about, he said, your brain is made of cholesterol. Your brain loves cholesterol. Every cell in your body has a cholesterol lipid bilayer, it's called. It's cholesterol. Every cell in your body is made of cholesterol. And so he said, cholesterol is, is important. So, but the thing is that you're not allowed to say that. Like you said, you used to work in that financial system. You weren't allowed to sell other products.
Yeah.
If I worked for some big box healthcare company and I was up, they would call me into the office and be like, "Hey, some of your colleagues said that you're telling patients it's okay to eat fat.
Wow.
What are you doing?"
Wow. And I get why there might be some constraints. Like, for example, if somebody comes out or a doctor comes out and says, "Hey, cholesterol is good," then all of a sudden somebody might be putting a whole stick of butter in their coffee in the morning, and then
some people do that.
Yeah,
some people eat butter,
right? they're eating a stick of butter, which I don't know.
I'll tell you what. When I was in when I was in gonna get married, I wanted to lose weight, and so I got down to let's see, I was around 245, okay, and so I went down to about 220. So I lost like 25 pounds. And the way I did it was with a keto diet.
Yep.
And my cholesterol was always my LDL was always about 160 or more. When I went on that keto diet, my LDL dropped to it may have dropped below 100 or in the 100, like 101, 100 to 110, the one, whatever, single digit 100s. And then my triglycerides, get this. So before keto, when I was single, I was eating like chicken nuggets, drinking Coors Light, the whole 9 yards,
Better beer than that.
And Trace used to do my blood work. Yeah, I know. I used to drink that. And Trace used to do my blood work, and my blood would solidify in the actual tube. She's like, "You got a problem."
Really?
One time it was 1,000, or it was my triglycerides were over 1,000.
This is when you were doing keto?
No. This was before keto.
Before keto, okay.
And then I did keto. My triglycerides. Now, granted, when I do keto, I eat mostly pork products, just because it's I don't want to pay $8 a pound for steak. Yeah. Anyway, so I was eating pork like crazy, pork butts mostly, and I would take the pork butt, the fat, the fat that's on a pork butt, I would shave that off and I would cook that and eat that. It sounds to some people disgusting.
Well, people do it with bacon now. I mean, cooking. Yeah.
But that's what. Anyway, short of it is my triglycerides went below 100 with that diet. Now, if I work for a big box healthcare company and I told someone this, they like I said, they would be calling me in the office and saying, "Look, we can't be talking like this."
Yeah, that's scary. So in the same, you want to be able to tell your clients whatever the data shows as far as for positive outcomes. Yeah. I wanted to be able to do the same thing.
And then you started your own business.
Yep.
In 2016.
Mm-hmm. That's when I went and I formed Wealth Transfer Consultants.
10 years.
Yeah.
Has it gone by fast? Mine's gone by fast.
It's super fast.
We moved into this office in 2018. So 2 years after you started your business. I feel like I moved in here recently.
Yeah.
Because, what was that? It's 2018, so it was 8 years.
Yeah.
But, Trace and I redesigned this office, or remodeled it. We remodeled. So I look back at that and said, yeah, it feels like it wasn't long ago we were painting this whole place. But anyway.
I know I did a 5-year lease on the building that I'm in, and I remember, I felt like I just did it yesterday, and it's already.
Yeah. Well, when I first signed a 5-year lease, I was thinking, oh my gosh, I don't even know where I'm going to be in 5 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you're starting out, you don't have any idea. Now, how did you do your business? Because I had to bootstrap mine with like working outside of my office. You were able to transition straight away, just like.
Yes, I was able to transition right away.
That's awesome.
Because now I've always prioritized marketing in my business. When a lot of financial advisors prioritize, people are just going to hear from me and people are just going to be referred to me by their friends and things like that. I always prioritized marketing.
Like what type?
Well, it could be some kind of social media marketing. It could be, like lunch and learns. It could be like public presentations at libraries for nonprofits. A bunch of different things. If you have the budget, there's TV commercials, there's radio commercials, there's podcasts similar to, there's a lot.
Yeah. Well, we tried some marketing. We actually paid people to do marketing for a short period of time. And God, in this business, at least, I don't know if we ever got one patient from a dollar of marketing.
Really?
Not one. I don't think we ever. The only thing that's gotten, at least that I know of, that's gotten patients here besides like Google. I Googled you and your website came up.
Yeah.
The only thing that has brought patients in here?
All right.
Guess.
So Google, you've never dropped pamphlets driving
I
by?
have drawn pamphlets. I don't know that they've ever worked.
Driving by?
What we're doing right here.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There's multiple people in our practice now. You're probably not one of them, I guess, because you didn't say so.
How did I find you? I think it was the Google.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was looking for a concierge doctor.
Okay.
And you were close by.
But no, there's been people that have found us through the podcast. Now, I don't know that they found the podcast and then came, but what they did was they went to the website, they clicked on the podcast and they read it or they watched it, listened to it, whatever. And then, okay, it makes sense. That's the only thing. That's the only thing we do now.
Good.
Because it's enjoyable. It's not free, but it's money well spent, I think. And it's fun to do. Like, when people talk to you, it's just... like they said, you should find something that you like to do if you can do it and you do it. Like Rush used to say that. He used to say, he would give people advice. He'd say, look, the best thing you can do is find something that you love to do and find people to pay you to do it.
I've been thinking a lot about that lately. Not so much the Rush quote, but like, what is it that brings me joy? And I don't even know if it's okay, because every time I get to a certain goal that I've set, be it practice growth or be it revenue or whatever that goal is, and once you reach it and you're kind of like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
It's the process of building something. It's the process.
Yeah, I do too.
It's the work.
Yeah, I do too.
As they say.
Yeah,
I think that's my favorite part.
Yeah, I do too. I do the same thing too with projects at home, building things. I like it when it's done. Like I remodeled our house. Our house is built in 1956, tiny little house. Anyway, so Tracy moved in when we got married, and our house was my bedroom was like a giant bedroom. It was an add-on to our house. Anyway, short of it is I remodeled the whole house, and so what used to be the movie room is now our bathroom, and what used to be the kitchen is half of our bed. What used to be half of the kitchen is our bedroom. And so anyway, every time I walk into the bathroom, I'm thinking, it gives me satisfaction because I know I built the whole thing. I built the whole thing. I put the plumbing in, I put in the roof, I put in the electrical. I did everything. I didn't put the framing up of the exterior walls, but I did the framing of the interior walls. Mm. But that process was not fun.
Gosh.
But seeing it now is fun.
It's worth it.
But so now you've been in your practice for 10 years. Like you said, new challenges are what take. You and I have a similar setup. Your wife works with you. My wife works with me.
Yes.
My wife's been the only person long-term who's ever worked in Echelon Health. And she wasn't my wife before. When we first met, we were both married to other people.
Oh, wow.
And so anyway, short of it is we got married later, blah, blah, blah. But she's been the only one who's ever worked full-time from the beginning. And what about you?
No. So I brought my wife in pretty much through desperation. We had gone through several hires that didn't work out.
Okay.
And she was working someplace else. And I remember her sitting me down, or we were talking about it, and I was just venting about how frustrated I was. And then us realizing that nobody's going to care more about the business other than her.
Mm-hmm.
And so she said, "What do you think about if I came and I worked for you?" And I was.
How long were you all married before that? Before she came to work?
I don't know, maybe 6 months.
Oh, okay, so it was fairly soon.
It was fairly soon, yeah. And I was like, and my initial reaction was like, absolutely not. I'm gonna hate this. I'm gonna, it's not gonna go well. We're gonna get frustrated.
Yeah.
But no, it's worked out great.
All right, tell me this, not to give away trade secrets at all.
Yeah.
How much outside of work do you talk about work?
A lot.
Yeah. See, I try not to. I've been trying not to. Only for the reason is that, our work, the way we do work, we're concierge, so we're like on call all the time,
Yeah.
And so, if Tracy gets a call, text or whatever at 7:00, then, You can move that too if you need
Yeah.
this part here. But anyway, she gets a call at 7:00. She has to answer. Same thing with me. And then you end up talking about it. But I try not to. I'm trying not to. But I don't know about for you, but for our way we do it, it's all consuming.
Yeah, it absolutely is all consuming because there's always a new problem. But what we try to do, not that we're perfect at, is just schedule time in advance where it's just us. So every quarter, we try to do like a getaway.
That's nice.
And so and it doesn't have to be fancy. Like this at the end of March, we just went to right before Orlando. There's Champions Gate, that hotel, the Omni there, and we just kind of went there for a few days and we just chilled.
That's nice.
Chilled by the pool. So it doesn't have to be something.
Yeah, you're not having to go to like Tora
London
Bora
or something.
anything. Yeah.
Right. But so we do schedule time for each other, but usually when there's a fire or something like that, it's being talked about.
Yeah. So, I was we were talking earlier about things earlier in our lives. Both of us have similar, not completely similar, kind of comparable back. So neither one of us came from like generational wealth, right?
No.
And so I was talking about before behind like, I feel like sometimes when people have that, they kind of have it like as a burden. Like, I don't know if this is true or not, because it's not for me, but I think a lot of times people carry that with them. Like, I don't know, like maybe I don't know. But for me, I look on things when you're younger as character building.
Oh yeah. And
so to me, it's not nice. It wasn't fun to be hungry sometimes. It wasn't fun to have holes in my shoes. I remember, this is a crazy story. I used to have these shoes that had holes in them, right? And I remember my grandmother, it was actually my stepmom's mother. She grew up during the Depression, very wonderful lady. She used to tell me, she says, well, when we were kids, we were so poor that when we had holes in our shoes, we would cut out cardboard and put them in the bottom of the shoes.
wow.
Well, guess what I did? When I had some holes in my shoes, I was like, that's a great idea. I did that for a few times. And so that kind of thing just, I think when you're older, I think it helps build character. Like I said,
Where did you grow up?
Polk County, Florida.
Yeah.
Next door.
Yep.
Lakeland. But yeah, I mean, we were poor. I mean, we weren't poor like, no electricity poor,
I understand.
but we weren't, like I said, whatever.
So I grew up in the Dominican Republic. So a lot of folks, now it's a
destination.
It's a cruise destination.
We actually love going to Puerto Plata.
Everybody, I know. Everybody tells me how lovely Dominican Republic, and it is. And there's beautiful parts of the Dominican Republic. I still have family in the Dominican Republic, but when you go to the cruise ports, that's not the real Dominican Republic,
obviously.
Right? So I didn't know that. To me, the way that we lived was normal. It was. I didn't. We weren't hungry, but it's a third world country,
right?
And so there was intermittent electricity. Everybody had a generator, right? Mm-hmm. Because the electricity was going out, and I'm not exaggerating, 4 to 5 times a day. No air conditioning, no screens on the doors. There was there was multi generations of family live under the same roof.
Now, I don't know this answer, and we didn't talk about this before, but were people happy?
We were happy.
Yeah,
we were absolutely happy. In fact, I was devastated when I was told that we were moving to the States.
Yeah, I have family in the Philippines. Philippines, up northern Philippines. That's where my mother was from. Mm. She got married to my father when he was in the Navy, 1972, maybe. My brother was 1 year old from my mother's. Had him as a baby when my dad met them and whatever. Early 70s, she came over here, and then she was only one of her family ever to come over here. And the rest of her family's still there. She had 10 brothers and sisters, or 12. I can't even remember anymore. Anyway, but we've talked to him. We've, with the advent of the internet, you can do video talks and stuff. Something you could never do before. I remember when we were kids, it's like, my mom would write a letter. She'd wait like 3 months and she'd get a letter. And then she'd write, it's like, but now, like before she died, my mom died in 2014. And before she died, though, she was actually able to talk to her brothers and sisters on her parents had died by then, but she was able to talk to her brothers, some of her brothers and sisters over the internet.
That's awesome.
And at first, she didn't believe it. She thought it was not them. Because, she has schizophrenia too. But anyway, I mean, she was treated, but anyway, that was part of it. She was not trusting, but eventually she found out, but it was a very amazing, but my point is that those people are always my family over there are always happy. As far as, I mean, I'm sure they have bad times, but
Yeah.
they're not on social media crying.
Yeah.
They're not recording themselves crying.
Yeah.
They're not complaining about their phone.
Yeah.
They're not stressed out.
Yeah.
Like people
this,
here are.
This was
it's
in
really
the 90s too. So I mean, nobody had cell phones. We still had the rotary phones with the cord that when we called somebody, right? But no, we were happy.
I think people are happier when there's less stuff.
I agree. I think social media in general gives us more stuff to either worry about or be anxious about.
Oh my gosh. When the oldest child now, she's graduating from vet school here in like 3 weeks.
Oh, cool.
But 8 years ago, she was starting an undergrad at Gulf Coast University.
Yeah.
Florida Gulf Coast. And they had the guidance counselor or somebody, I don't know what they call them. Anyway, the counseling department, head of student counseling came and he talked to the parents. And he said that in the 20 years or whatever time frame he gave that he's been doing his position or his type of work, working with students for mental health, counseling, that type of thing, they've never been more anxious than now. And this was 8 years ago.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I'd love for kids to understand is just how much of a facade social media is.
I know
whatever's portrayed on social media.
But why do you think they don't know that? Because to you and I, it's intuitive. It's because we didn't grow up with it, right?
Right.
It's got to be it.
Right.
Because to me, it's intuitive. I mean, it's intuitive
obvious.
to me. Right. Well, it's like the person who's on the, every day. Oh, my husband is the greatest, and he's back. Yeah. Oh, my wife's the greatest, and we love each other so much.
They hate each
Here's
other.
our beautiful children. What a disaster at home they are.
Absolutely. The kids hate them.
The most mentally depressed people, and
it's a tell, right? You can immediately. That is if I was playing poker with that guy, I'd immediately be able to say, like, this guy's he's bluffing.
Here we go, push it all to the middle. Hey, come on, let's play.
I'm raising.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just
there's a lot. There's a lot.
Overall, social media has been really bad for people. I think there's been some good, obviously. Like my mom got to talk to her family in the Philippines. That's really cool, but. They did studies early on. I'm sure you've read this about Facebook, and they were doing studies psychological, and the likes created dopamine loops that were similar to like taking hits of cocaine.
Absolutely. People responding to your comments makes you feel like you're important. It also creates like a dopamine hit.
Yeah.
So
there was a Netflix movie about that, or a documentary. I think it was on a social network or something like that. Anyway, it was about kids, and it was showing how kids behave. Like there's this girl. Her ears are a little bit bigger, and so she had this picture on the internet, and everybody's telling her in her comments like, "Oh, you look so cute," blah, blah, blah. And then one person says, "Oh, your ears are big," and then in the documentary, she's just like spiraling from that.
Mm. So my oldest son is 11, and he's the one that's always bugging me for a phone, right? Because all of his friends have phones.
Yeah,
and no, he's not getting a phone until as late as it can possibly be.
Our youngest is 7 going on 27. Anyway, she's 7 and she loves watching YouTube and things like that. And she does Duolingo, which is good. And she says, "Dad, when am I going to get a phone?" I said, "Never." That's what I told her, never. So I'm not saying, in my mind, and if she watches this, she'll find out. But in my mind, she'll get a phone at some point, but it ain't any time in the near future.
It ain't any time. No.
We had a guy come talk to us parents when Livia went to school at Lutz Prep here up the street.
Yeah.
And he actually is the police. He's in charge of like cyber crimes, I guess, with involving people like getting abducted or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, he says that, he told his kids, "You're not getting any phone. You're not going to get a phone." And they bitched about it and everything. And finally, one of them did get a phone. So apparently there's some way you can give someone an iPhone, and there's a program you can put on that basically wipes it of all activity except for being able to call or text. And
I got to find out what that is, because I was planning on just getting him a flip phone to avoid all that.
Well, that's what someone said. He said, "Well, what can you do with it?" And he said, "Well, this is what I did." And there's a way you can do it. We could figure it out. AI. Yeah. Anyway, his kids, they didn't like it, right? So they went to college, and then they came back from college, maybe one semester, maybe a year. like Thanksgiving or something. And one of the kids said to his father, he says, look, when you did this, you and mom did this, it sucked. We hated it. We thought it was, it wasn't cool at all. Thank you for doing it. My friends that I can't even talk to them. I can't hold a conversation with them. They're socially inept.
Really?
Yes. He said that. He said he thanks them for it. So wouldn't that like make your life as a dad? Like I would die a happy man if one of my children ever said that to me. Because right now I'm just the bad guy, right? I'm just the bad guy. But it's it shows that it's the kids can see it with their peers.
Yeah.
They have this thing, it's called the blue screen face or something like that. Someone always tell me about it. It's where people are looking at screens so long that their reality is in the screen. And then when they talk to a person in life like you and I, their brain has a difficulty kind of understanding, switching from screen to 3D person in life. And they'll get this kind of glazed look until they kind of are able to refocus and re-understand what is going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's weird. I see it though all the time. I told Tracy that one time. I said I went to talk to someone and I asked him a question, and he looked at me, and in my mind I thought he is thinking, I wish I had my phone right now so I could either look at it or look something up. That's just in my mind. It just popped in.
Do you ever think about how your kids aren't going to experience things the same way as you, since your kids are growing up differently than you? I think about that all the time.
I think about it, and I'll tell you a quick story. So Olivia's 7.
Yeah.
7 going on 27. And so one time we were going to take her to Legoland.
Yeah.
Winter Haven. And she was misbehaved. So the Legoland trip had been talked about in 2 weeks. We're going to Legoland. We're going to get the hotel, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, she would misbehave. So we said, all right, you're not going to Legoland. That's it. You're not going to Legoland. Olivia was mad. She's at dinner. She says, it's not right. It doesn't matter what a kid does. You should never cancel their birthday. I said, we're not canceling your birthday. And she goes, yes, you are. I said, no, we're just canceling your trip. I said, not every kid gets to go on a trip for their birthday. She goes, that's not true. So they don't know.
They don't know.
But what are you going to do? I mean, it's like,
they don't know.
I don't know. You just have to have like an in between. Can't give them everything. You don't want to deprive them.
I remember when we were in the process of finding a house. We were going to buy a new house, and one of the big inputs that my oldest son was giving me, he was like, "Dad, I want us all to have our own room at the house."
Mm-hmm.
And so I have 3 kids, and so I'm like, okay. And my initial reaction as son is, as soon as you start contributing financially to the household, you can start giving direction as to what we're going to buy. But then I started thinking about when I was a kid. It was one room, me in a tiny bed at the corner of a room, my grandma and 2 cousins in a big bed in the middle, and we all slept in the same room. And I'm like, how would he react if he had to sleep?
Tracy
like
and I
that?
talk about that sometimes.
Yeah,
we talk about that a lot with cleaning too. See, Tracy and I had similar upbringing regarding cleaning. No dishwasher. You're the human dishwasher.
Yeah.
Come home, wash dishes, clean the house. Not so much clean the house for me, but mostly wash dishes. Go to work from like 4 to 11, or maybe 4 to 10:30. Maybe you couldn't work till 11 on school night. Come home, wash dishes that you didn't eat food. You didn't get any dinner, wash them again, and then get up and do it again the next day.
Yeah.
And our kids, they think cleaning up after dinner is like end of the world. That being said, our kids are very good because they do clean up.
Mm.
And I know a lot of kids.
What's your secret?
We just tell them. And at first they were mad about it.
Yeah.
And you just have to Kaylee's the middle one, so she's 15. Is she 15? Yeah. So she's but when she was Olivia's age, Olivia's 7, she would get mad. We just deal with it,
Oh no, I'm still at the. I mean, I have to use my loud voice, my dad voice, just to get him to take baths and showers. It's
really?
Yeah.
But you have boys.
I have 2 boys and a girl.
Yeah. See, we have only girls. So
my oldest is the one that I like. If I let him just run amok, he would be outside until 10 o'clock at night playing in soccer. Coming home with a bunch of dirt all over him, and just getting him to take a shower is probably like 6 requests.
Boys are harder. I mean, speaking as a boy and speaking as I grew up, my parents, there's 3 boys and 1 girl. My sister was the youngest. She was a girl. I was 7 years older than her. My brother's 7 years older than me. And then I had another brother who passed away who was 2 years younger than me. So there was a spread, but the boys are harder. And, yeah. But, the other day we made Olivia and Kaylee, we didn't make them, we requested or told them to. Well, we made them. Anyway, they had to pull weeds, right?
Yep.
And Kaylee's been pulling weeds now for many years. So she at first was very against it. Now it's just it's
Part
not
of the gig.
Yeah, it's just like going to the dentist now. It's just like, well, you got to do it, right? So she gets out there and she's pulling weeds. Well, then Olivia's out there kind of having fun, and then she was supposed to pull weeds too. So she was made to pull weeds, and you should have seen the fury of how angry she was to pull weeds. And she started immediately fighting with Kaylee, but they have to learn. But like I said, our kids are pretty good. I mean, I know a lot of kids don't have any responsibilities at all.
Yeah.
And I think when they grow up, I don't know, it's going to be different.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know. It's kind of nice to have had it past you, all those challenges and everything, because I think it helps you.
You know what's wild, speaking about like cleaning up and things like that, is even growing up in the DR, we grew up in the capital, Santo Domingo, which is the capital of the Dominican Republic. And it's very, very common, as it is in other third world countries, that to have a maid.
Yeah.
Right? So even us, which I would have considered us middle class,
Right.
we still had a maid that would help with all the cleaning and cooking and
Same for
things like that. It
remember-
wasn't a wealth status.
Right.
It wasn't wealth status
It's
to
just-
have.
It's
have
part
a
of the
maid.
society.
It's part of it's part of the culture.
Well, my dad, when he and my mom were married in the Philippines, and I think they lived on a base. Anyway, my dad said, yeah, they had a maid too. It was my mom's cousin, but she cleaned the house. My mom didn't clean the house, and they weren't rich. But yeah, it's the same kind of thing. That's kind of the way it is. Yeah, I had a buddy who he was from Colombia, and his family's they're doing all right, but they have a gardener and they have
Wow,
all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just that's the way it is.
that's the way it is.
Here you have the franchise maid services,
Right.
and our poor neighbor, she keeps hiring these people, and they charge her like $100 an hour or something, and
Oh, wow.
they don't do a very good job, and
Yeah.
it's hard to find some. It's like you say. It's like they say, you want something done right, you have to do it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Well, Leah, thanks, man, for coming on. It
Yeah,
was
this
really
was
good.
great.
Come and see Leo. Give him your information.
So you can visit me on my website at www.weprotectwealth.com.
And when people contact you, you just kind of do like a interview over the phone, or
Yeah, we'll have Heather, who works for me along with my wife, will chat with you, and then she'll, if she needs to loop me into the conversation and make sure that it would be a good idea for us to meet, then she'll do so. But yeah, you'll be either speaking to Heather or Vanessa. Both of them are wonderful.
All right, cool. All right, buddy. Thanks for coming on. And then maybe next time we'll talk a little bit more about business and
No, this was fun.
financial stuff and markets and this, that, and the other. All right. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Tommy Show. Go to drtommyshow.com. It's a new URL. And also you can listen on any of the podcast networks and watch us live on YouTube and Rumble. Until next time, bye-bye.
Mom, please, this one is the best.
We have a lot already, sweetie.
But I really want it.
All right, put it in.